You know what? We've got the most interesting guest today. Now, I'm 57. He's 58. Just turned his birthday the other day. But this gentleman knows advertising, but he knows something a little bit more, a little special, but it's about being in shape over 50. What does it truly mean to have great mindset? What does it truly mean to be a great individual? Andrew Kolasko is going to tell us a little bit about what does it take to be in shape over 50? What does longevity look like? And what does it mean just to be in shape? Creating curiosity by asking better questions. This is Shed Talk. Welcome to Shed Talk.
Thanks very much, Kevin. Glad to be here.
Well, thanks for coming. And you know what? I always mess up everybody's name, Kolasko, and it's when I'm getting all set up because I get really excited about this. And you, out of anybody, at 58 years old, and you are an extraordinary specimen because you're in great shape. And I'm looking because I know what it takes to be in shape. And over 50 and looking at it, and you, out of anybody, as being in advertising and being in the fitness industry, is taking it to that level. So I want to deep dive into it right now and talk about being in shape over 50. What made you get into shape or be the person you are today?
Well, I'm lucky that fitness and exercise and athleticism has been a part of my upbringing. I mean, really since I was 13, I went into hockey, I went into football, and athleticism and exercise and fitness has always been a mainstay for me. And as I entered into my 50s, actually at 49, a switch really goes off and you start to think about your mortality when you hit that 50. For some reason, it just seems like that's the big one where you kind of start to wake up to your mortality and what's ahead of you. And that's really what put me on the path to being a longevity coach and worrying about healthspan, not just for myself, but to be able to expand it. Because, I have been in advertising and marketing for 37 years, but I really, and as successful as it's been for my clients and all the money that they've made from all the business dealings and stuff done, it's been good, but I really want to do something that I could still be passionate about. That's the core of who I am, but be able to help others, be able to help other men 50 plus. That's my wheelhouse, working with men 50 plus, and be able to help them increase their overall metabolic health, their lean muscle mass, their VO2 max, their stability, their overall sense of well-being. And that is the impetus of that really is with exercise. So I really super well-crafted program is what I put together for my clients.
So you talk about longevity coach versus a personal health trainer or what do you call life coach or anything like that, and how important it is because men, from my experience, the largest suicide rate is between men 55 and 75 years of age, basically having lost all their, and I use the avatars that basically they've been through their second marriage. All of a sudden they're trying to get into shape, and then it's kind of like that, oh man, the woe me, life is just about over, they're done. And then this is where this comes into play. And a lot of men don't understand, and there's females too, and women out there that don't realize how important it is to actually fitness level. What is one of the experiences you've found with your clients that are coming in? What's the one question that they ask you and finding you and say, what do they say to you? I need to get into shape, or is there more to it than that?
Well, my typical client, for the most part, they've worked their ass off in their career, right? They've been building their empire, they've been building their wealth, and they've gotten to a certain stage of their life, and now they may not be in the best shape. So they're really looking to because they start to see the health is really all that matters. It doesn't matter how much money that you have. It doesn't matter how much dirt that you own. It really comes down to your health, and you start to think about the things that really matter to you and the things that, and so I find them, there's a bit of self-discovery there. I mean, there's a brand new client that I just brought on, and he's dealing with depression. He's a very successful business owner, and he's got a marriage behind him, but he's got kids, and he's got all this responsibility. But I think you can start to lose identity. I mean, your focus is so narrow, it can be, and that's a great thing, because that talks about discipline that they've had to get to this point in their career where they've had success and they've built their wealth, but it's a tough patch for a lot of men, and that they need to get back and work on themselves. And a part of that self-care is putting together, like I say, a well-crafted program, something with exercise, and that's because the greatest accelerator for your brain is exercise. All the research shows it. And if you can calibrate that right, you can get everything else in your life right.
So a guy's gonna come into you, and I wanna deep dive it even further than that, because all of a sudden there's a lot of guys, and I talk about the avatar, that lonely depression, because guys that are in their 50s and plus, we seem to be very isolated. So we talk about the woke crowd and Generation X, Z, but it seems that the crowd right now where we're at, the 55, and I go 50 plus, 55 plus, all of a sudden we seem to be left in the dust, meaning nobody's ever talked about us men over 55 and health and wellness and mindset, because the bottom line is we're supposed to be strong. When we were growing up, it was like, okay, don't cry. What was the saying that they used to say? You can be seen but not heard. Right. And we were growing up with that. And then here we are, men going in there, and you're training them, and it's getting that first conversation to have them to say, hey, it's okay to get into fitness, and let's talk about mental health and being in shape, because how important is it for physical fitness?
Yeah, because it really does come back to your identity, and I think that's what you're talking about. You can feel a loss of identity because you've been so career and business focused. You get to this age and you realize maybe some of the things that you have in your life aren't the way you want them to be, and you start to realize how important those that you love are to you. You start to realize how you spend your time is important, and you really, it really is about getting back to who you are. And exercise is really good for that. And then you're able to bring back that same discipline and focus that brought them to this state, having a successful career, running successful businesses, managing. Now you can have another focus, but it's on you. And I think this is a much more powerful phase of your life to enter into, because you don't have to worry about the wealth and the building your empire anymore. You can now focus on you. And that's really because when you are in good shape, when you're feeling well, you're healthy in mind, body, and spirit, then you're able to put your best self out there. And I think that's really what it's all about, is be able, if you can, I know it sounds trite, but if you love yourself, then you can love others. It really does not, it really starts with you. And your ability to be able to give something back to society, to your family, to friends, really is based upon your own self-worth and your own self-confidence and your own self-esteem. And nothing is going to build that better than having good health. You're going to have that optimism. You're going to feel that buoyancy in your feet. You're going to feel that stream of consciousness that's going to really wake you up and be able to, give you something that's going to be of value to others. Because one thing that I learned more than anything else in my career is that to be a true leader is to serve. And this is, I think you can still serve, but you can serve in a more meaningful way in this stage in your career. But you want to be in the best possible health inside and out, so that you're able to give your best self to others.
So when we're talking about the fitness side of it and loving yourself, because you got to love yourself before you can love others, was there ever an aha moment? So here you are in shape right now. Okay, you're over 50, obviously. We talked at the beginning of the show there, being 57, 58. 57?
58. Just 3 days ago, I turned 58.
So 58 years old. Now the thing was, what was that? Did you have one of those moments, an aha moment, and going, not turning 50, but actually that thing that, you know what, I better start looking after myself. What was that aha moment to you? Because I know right now there's a lot of guys out there and a lot of people that all of a sudden, to turn discipline into habits or whatever that is, that moment that, okay, it's time to make a change. Is it cancer? Is there something wrong with them? Was there ever a point that all of a sudden that you realized, wait a second, this is where I need to change? Or was there a point in time that it was, wait a second, I need to help others?
Yeah, it really came down to, I really need to do something more meaningful with my life. I need to do something of purpose. So when I started searching back, because what can I find? I've been wrapped up in advertising and marketing for 35 plus years. What else is there about me? What else is there that that's unique to me and that I enjoy and that I'm passionate about. Because you're passionate about something, and I always told my daughters this. I said, you find something that you love in life to do, and that becomes your career, then you'll never work a day in your life. And so I think, there may be some hollow feeling into my career that where it really wasn't feeling like I was doing something that was of making a difference, really helping people's lives. And I think that's really what it came as. There was kind of this emptiness. I wanted to do something purposeful and something that would have focus. And that's really why I thought I could go into this, because this has always been something I've been good at with the fitness and the health. I understand how to set it up properly. I understand, the processes that need to take place. I understand the discipline and regiments. And also, see, when I work with my clients, what's a little different in my approach is that it really is about finding their why. Why do this? Because, for me too, another part of it is you start to realize, well, this is the other half of my life. I want to do something that really matters. You start to look out and you start to say, well, I've only got so much runway left. How can I make the most value out of the rest of those days? And it's really going to come down to your health, because, like I say, the state you're in is going to make all the difference. So I think finding out that, you really need to find something of purpose and really find a why. So when I work with my clients, it's quite an intimate relationship in the way that I really do need to know them quite personally, because finding out their why, because you have to be motivated to exercise, right? Actually, I don't like to call it exercise. I like to call it training. We're training for something specific, okay? We're training so that 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 30 years from now, you can be in a certain health state. So we're really backing up the clock. We want you, say you're 55. I want you to be in as good a shape as a 35-year-old, because if you don't start getting it ready now, sarcopenia, we lose 1 to 3% of our body mass, lean muscle mass after age 50, and it starts to decline. We start testosterone, starts to go down. There's all kinds of things, but your exercise, your health can bring that back. So it's really, when I know their why, I'm able to help them to once again focus and put their energies and directions towards the why, because that's what will get them up in the morning. That's what's going to get them to lift those weights, to work on their VO2 max and the cardiorespiratory system, and be able to do some of those things that are going to enhance their life.
So when you're talking about the why aspect, and people are listening to the show right now and they're going, okay, well, that sounds great. We're gonna find my why. What is the why? Like, okay, here I am. I'm X amount of years old. You know what? And I'm not motivated. I know I need a lifestyle change. I know I need something. I'm here. I'm stuck. I'm there. Yeah, I know I need a why. What's my why? My why is I just feel crappy every day. I just don't feel good.
Yeah.
How do they dig deep and truly ask themselves a better question about what a why is? From your experience in this.
Well, it really comes down to me asking the right questions, because you do have to probe. You do have to do an analysis of where they're at, because everyone is individual. And it sounds right again, but everyone's a snowflake. You really are. And that is what it comes down to, is I want to understand. That's how you find the why, is asking the right questions, because you got to look back over your life and say, what are the things I was passionate about? What did I like to do in high school? What were my sports? Where have I had the most joy in my life? Was it vacationing? Was it hiking? Was it when I was on the rowing team, or when I was playing basketball or football, and then when I put my program together for them specifically, I'm trying to bring that out. So say they had a boxing, training background when they were younger. Well, I will come up with motivational sandwiches, I like to call them, just little short things that are more in that genre of what is it that they loved, and use that as motivation and remind them about why they're doing what they're doing. So that really helps, create the motivation. It helps create the momentum to keep going, because we do have to look deep to find out what really matters to you as an individual. And so I can't say what it is for you. I can't say what it is for someone else until I start to ask the questions and I start to understand really the basis of who they are and what gets them excited, what they're passionate about, what they love to do, because that's really the purpose of what I do, is that I want to be able to spend those future years doing the things that you love and enjoy, because that's what life's all about. I mean, why else would we want to be here? There's no other purpose than to be able to be doing the things that you enjoy the most. So let's get everything fine-tuned and get you going in that direction so that you are able to do those things. And you can't wait until, if it's something you want to be able to do in 5 years, then you can't wait 3 or 4 years to start working on it. You need to work on it now because...
Right. Now, another question for you. Did you ever take up bodybuilding?
I did compete in bodybuilding. I competed actually 22 years ago, almost to this month, actually. I won the Southern Alberta light heavyweight championship, and that included all of Calgary South and Southern Alberta. And I took first place in that, which qualified me for provincials. And I went up there and I got third, which qualified me for Westerns. And I went to Westerns. They were in Banff that year, so I thought, well, I'm going to go. And I could have competed, but I'm glad I didn't. All of a sudden, I'm 6'1" and a bit. Yeah. Everybody on stage was like 5'8", but they weighed the same as me. And it just, the steroids, performance enhancing drugs and that type of thing started to become more prevalent when you get up to that level. And, I would have had to go up to a heavyweight division to be able to compete. That means I would have had to put on 30 or 40 pounds. And the way I was going to put on 30 or 40 more pounds was going to be with some kind of performance enhancing drugs. And I've never done them. I've been a natural weightlifter, bodybuilder for my whole career. I thought about it, and that's kind of interesting, and the choices that we do make do affect us at this age now too, because I mean, we are vain. We are driven by ego. Let's face it. So I just, if I would have done that, like what I was going to do, be on steroids for the next 10, 20, 30 years, like how am I going to maintain that kind of a physique? So I did think ahead, because I know myself well enough that I can say that, once you kind of achieve a certain level, you want to stay there. So I'm glad I chose the natural route, and I don't even think that that some of these performance enhancing drugs and steroids and stuff are really that bad for I don't think, from a health risk. I don't think they're that terrible, but still, I'm glad I didn't, just because I think that's something you can't maintain. So you want to have something that's going to get you the most years ahead of you, and keep that kind of physique that's going to be reasonable. But I think I am in extremely good shape, and I want to get my clients there too.
Hey, take a minute and smash that subscribe button, and let's get back to the episode. And it's interesting and the reason why I brought up that is because you're in great shape right now, obviously at 58 years old. But what's really interesting is my journey when I asked that, is that I was 240 pounds at 50, sleep apnea, gout, cancer.
Wow.
I was in the worst shape of my life at 50, could barely walk. And just everything gone wrong, and it was one of those things. And when we start talking about men over 50 and finding that why, that goal, that life doesn't stop at 50. Like all of a sudden, it's over. I'm out of shape, and I drank every day, a heavy drinker. And then once all that stuff was gone, and then the why was about all of a sudden now, what does it take to go to the next level at 50? Here I am, 57 years old. Now I do compete in the WNBF bodybuilding, CPA bodybuilding. So I compete in all of these all over, and in the worlds as well. So I compete in them. So what's really interesting in talking with men, you can do those things on a natural level, like no steroids or anything, at 50, and find your why. And then all of a sudden that mindset, that focus, and going to the next level where you've already tapped into it, and really get to see your customers take off. What, with your customer base, is one of the greatest success stories you've had with one of your customers or one of your clients that you've trained and then do that was just outstanding for you?
Well, I've got one client who's 72 years old, and his goal is to still be skiing when he's 80. And so we've been able to put together a wonderful plan for him. He came to me already in pretty decent shape, but really to keep him in that kind of shape so that he can keep going on that hill, because that's what he loved. That's what he's passionate about. And so, once again, we were able to find exactly what turned his crank. I mean, what was special for him? What was his why? Because he just loves it so much. He wants to be on that hill for the next 10 years. And he's seen other friends of his, they don't go up to the hill anymore with him because they're not in the shape to be able to do that. And so with his training, like when it came to like his VO2 max training, because there's a certain way I calibrate programs for clients so that they're getting enough cardiovascular, they're getting enough strength building, they're getting enough muscle building. So it's just the perfect match. But for him, we did his side-to-side ski machine where he did his VO2 max on that. So it really worked on his lateral. What they call skidding in skiing is the traversing the hill. So it's the back and the forth and the back and the forth. So we're able to work on those specific skills that he needs on the hill, but at the same time, these are life skills. I'll give you a startling statistic, and that's after age 65, if you fall and break a hip or a femur, your mortality rate in the next 12 months is 35%. So there's only like about 30 to 40%. So there's only a 60, 70% chance that you'll be alive in 12 months. And if you had a cane, then you'll be in a wheelchair. If you had a wheelchair, now you'll be bedridden. So it's really, we don't think enough about, it isn't just about my motto for my clients and my company is that look good, feel good, play good. You really do want all those things. Aesthetics are important, but you also want to be able to be able to play good, and that takes your bone density, your stability, your ability to the concentric and eccentric movements of, you got to be able to concentrate on those. It needs to be right, because some of the things that you need to have in place as you age are different than just going to the gym and banging weights. It really needs to be something that's going to work on your stability. I mean, and work on your gait and your walk and everything like that. Some of these things start to become more important the older that you get.
So you mentioned a couple times here, regarding VO2 max.
Yeah.
Can you dig down, go a little deeper on the VO2 max, so I really make it really layman's term for myself and understanding what VO2 max is?
Yeah. Well, your VO2 max is a measurement. First, let me back up, because I'm going to say what's the difference between me too. We talked about not being a fitness trainer or being a longevity coach, because I'm not interested in before and after pictures. I don't do that with my clients. Well, I guess I could, but it's really not of that much value, because just being lean, that doesn't necessarily mean good health. So before I start with my clients, we make sure they do a VO2 max test. I work with my clients for a minimum of a year. So they'll do the VO2 max test, and then at 6 months, we'll check in and see their progress, because wins are important to keep you motivated, to keep you going. You've got to see progress. And then we'll do it again at 12 months to see your progress. Another thing I do is a DEXA scan, which is an MRI scan of your body, which will tell you how much visceral fat you've got, how much subcutaneous fat you've got, what's your bone density, what's your muscle mass, because these are the things that matter. It's not just looking in the mirror. It's not just trying to judge from a picture. It's being able to really have those metrics that are going to be measurable, and that you can go back and see how your progress is going. So when it comes to VO2 max, I'll give you a startling statistic. I mean, let's even back up a little bit more, because you think about all the things that are bad for you that can happen. Coronary heart disease, diabetes, hypertension. Say hypertension increases your all causes of mortality by 20%. Type 2 diabetes increases it by 30%. And smoking, if you're a smoker, then that'll increase your all cause mortality by 50%. Sounds like a lot, right? Well, your VO2 max if you were in the top 2.5% of the population as opposed to the bottom 25% quartile, the difference in your outcome is 400%. That's the difference. If you're in that low VO2 to the high, then that is a 400% difference. So the metrics are off the charts when it comes to the value of that. And I'll just throw out one more before I establish about VO2 max more. 250% increase from a weak strength to a high strength in training. So that shows you the power of exercise and what a difference it makes. I mean, it just blows your mind. So what you want to get with VO2 max is that's the amount of oxygen that can go into your blood, that can oxygenate your blood to generate energy for your oxygen output. So it's really your engine. It's really based on how well you are able to oxygenate and that's going to determine your energy output. So it is the single greatest indicator of longevity is your VO2 max. And so with my clients, it's interesting how you need to calibrate it just so. So half of their week is resistance training, otherwise known as weight training, but you can do it with bands and that kind of thing too. So resistance training is best, but the other 50% is we're focused on that cardiovascular fitness. So zone 2 training is very important. That's about 60 to 70% of your heart rate. And so I love to do rucking. So that's when you wear a heavy backpack, and I like to go down in the coulees and the ravine and that type of thing, and do that and get in that zone 2. But you can do zone 2 training, like say 60-70% of your heart rate by rowing. You could do it on a stationary bike. You can do it on a treadmill. But that's about 80-85% of your week for your cardiovascular training should be in that zone.
So let's talk that quick zone, just so people don't understand it. And it's like 220 minus your age, correct?
Yes.
And so let's say someone that's 50, so it's your 220 minus 50. So your maximum heart rate is 170, is it? Is that what that math is?
Yeah, I think it's something like that.
And then you're 80% of that, is that correct?
Yeah, your numbers are right.
So what would be zone 2? So if you had your Apple Watch is on, okay, and you're 50 years old, what would be the best target in a zone 2 for a heart rate? So if someone's monitoring that.
Okay, I don't have the stat for you.
And I'm just thinking like 220. So 220 is your max minus that, and just help me if this is.
Minus
if
your
I'm
50, correct. Then you're at 170.
170, they'd be 80% of that. So say 140.
Yeah, you'd be right, about 140.
Oh, so 140. So is that
135 to 145?
And that would be zone 2, which is that's a fat burning zone.
Well,
or cardiovascular zone. I'm not sure between the two.
Yeah, well, it is a fat burning. Your body's getting used to burning at a certain level, and it is time consuming because you have to put in a certain amount. Now the output isn't that hard, but you do have to put in the time. Like I say, that's 80 to 85% of your week, and then your other 15-20% of the week is your max VO2 training. So for mine, I do the Norwegian 4x4, which is kind of like an interval hit. So Norwegian 4x4, that's based upon the Olympic ski team, the Norwegian Olympic ski team, and that's how they came up with that in their coaching. And basically, what it is, it's 4 minutes all out output. So it's about 80-90% of your output. So you're really giving it for 4 minutes. You take a 3-minute break, let your heart rate get down to about 100 beats a minute. And then you go 4 minutes again, 3-minute break, 4 minutes again, 3-minute break, 4 minutes again, and then that's it. And it could be your hardest workout of the week. However, it's the hardest. Like I dread mine. Like it's tough to do, but that's because what you want with your cardiovascular overall. So with your zone 2 training, that gives you a wide cardiovascular base, okay? And then VO2 max training, like I said, the interval to hit, the Norwegian 4x4, that gives you a peak. What you want is the biggest tent you can get. So you want that wide base and you want that peak. And you don't want too low of a peak. You don't want too short of a base. So it's really calibrating that just so. and that will get you the best VO2 max measurement that, or what's going to improve it the best is doing that. It's kind of counterintuitive in some way. You think you'd always be training at that and always doing intervals all week, and that would build it. It actually doesn't. It's actually that zone 2 is that sweet spot where you need to spend most of your cardiovascular energy in, and that'll. This is what all the research shows. Like, there's nothing I recommend that isn't research based. If it isn't scientific and it hasn't been proven, then I don't use it. Because see, what's interesting too, like I mentioned the Norwegian cross country ski team. Well, this is the same thing used by cyclists at the highest levels of Tour de France. They're using the same calibration. Okay, they're doing about 80% of their week on that zone 2. Now their zone 2, their 60-70% of their max is going to be a hell of a lot more than mine or yours, but for them it's all relative, right? And then they spend another 15% of the week working on that max, where they're doing that Norwegian 4x4, for example, like the interval, kind of like a HIIT training, and that's how they calibrate it. So what we're doing is we're taking the most sports scientific research that's out there to get this, and we're just calibrating it for you at your age, at 50, 55, 60, 65, and what's where it needs to be for you. And so we're really bringing in the same training that they use for the most elite athletes on the planet.
So just as we're going through this quick, is another thing is nutrition.
Yes.
Because they're coming into you without a good nutritional habit. They've always been drinking. I'm speaking from experience. That's the only reason. From my experience and going through it as drinking lots, trying to figure out eating the wrong foods, eating all the time, what is the one suggestion that you would actually say, okay, you're starting off, you're just coming for the first time, and they're saying, what should I start? Yes, I know I have to come to the gym. I got to go to the gym. That's my why. But what is the one thing I can do today, right now, it's one small thing that'll help me start my journey?
Your protein intake is going to be the most important thing that you have. This doesn't matter if you're lifting weights or not lifting weights, if you're exercising or not exercising. Of course, we want you exercise, we want you lifting weights, we want you to be doing your cardiovascular training. But it's your protein intake. You should be having 1 gram per pound of body weight. So what do you weigh?
Right now I weigh 179.
Yeah. So
0.4. yeah.
Well, we'll round it at 180.
180, yeah.
But you should be having 180 grams of protein per day.
And how much is
minimum?
What is 180 grams? So someone says grams, ounces. What is a gram? Like, people come to me and, well, you're gonna have chicken. Is it here's your chicken, and I have to go on my phone. Is it a gram, an ounce, and this? So is it like an ounce of chicken or a gram? Sorry, 6 ounces is like my palm. Is that correct?
Yeah. Well. Okay, or that's going to be about 40 to 50 grams, what you're talking about. You're talking about a chicken breast in your hand.
Yeah.
That's going to be about 40 or 50 grams.
And you're saying how much we should have?
You want 180. So and it works out quite well. So that's 45 times 4 is what that is, okay? So that works pretty well, okay? That math that you just did for that chicken breast in your hand, it's going to be about 40, 50 grams. So you should be eating... I think it's most practical to eat, say, 4 meals a day. So you'd want to have that about 45 grams per meal of protein.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then that would work great. Everything else really falls into place. You got to make sure you got your micronutrients. You got to make sure you got your...
What's a micro?
Well, your micronutrients, where it's going to be most vegetable basis.
Okay.
What those are going to come from your greens. Okay. And you're going to want to make sure those are more like the vitamins. Those are more in those type of things. So you want to make sure that you've got that. But I mean, it's really, once you get your protein right, everything else falls into place.
So chips and stuff, I can still have chips. I can still have those and Coke.
Now here's the thing, with your calorie intake. I mean, every says, well, It is true, and I know there's some silly stuff that you see on social media and in the internet and everything. The calories don't count. They absolutely do count. I mean, calories in, calories out is the hard gospel truth when it comes to it. But 1,000 grams of Snicker bars and 1,000 grams of broccoli aren't the same 1,000 grams, right? They're still going to count towards that calorie. So it's not that you. And really what we want to achieve with nutrition is energy balance. What I mean by energy is that those calories, they represent energy, right? So if, like me, I need between 2,500 and 3,000 calories a day because of my size, because I work out, and that, and maybe even a little bit more on some days I can do. So, I mean, with your chips and with your Coke, I mean, they're not going to satiate you as well as some of these other things. So that's the problem is, you could actually live that way. Well, you may have some deficiencies in some of the vitamins and stuff that you need, but you're just not going to be able to eat that right amount of chips and stay at that drink at that certain amount, of Coke that you're going to have a day and be able to be filled. That's why, with junk food and overprocessed foods is that people are overeating them because they don't satiate, right? They don't fill you up. So you end up eating more and then your calorie count gets blown out of the, right. So you really, I think one of the easiest things for people to do if they want to try to get it as close and best as they can for the week is do think about it as a 7 days. So what if you needed, if you were at 2,200 calories is what you needed per day, let's just say randomly you want to pick that. Let's use 2,000 so it's easier math. So, so that's 14,000 calories a week, right? So I think that's what you need to go for the week. So maybe you're a little low on one day, maybe you hit 3,000 on one, but on another day you only at 1,500, another day you're at 1,500, and then it brings it back down to that 2,000 range. I think that's a little bit easier for a lot of people. But I know for myself, my diet's quite boring, right? It's almost the same thing day after day because I'm able to, it just works more efficiently for me. But socializing is so important for your longevity too. We talked about finding your purpose, being over 50 and maybe struggling with depression, struggling with your thoughts of suicide and those kind of things. I mean, those are terrible things, but the difference it's going to make is that your social connections, your family ties, the people that you can love and that you can trust and you have in your life, those are the ones that's what's really going to make the difference. So when it comes to calories and stuff like that, so maybe you do 3,500 calories on a Saturday, that's fine. You've got the rest of the week to kind of balance it out. I wouldn't lose my mind. I wouldn't get too concerned about going over, but I mean, it's when that goes into 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, or out of your week, then it's going to mess things up.
So, what is the one thing that you would tell somebody that's the most important? What is that? Because we're just about wrapping up here. What is the one thing that you would tell somebody that's in 55? The one thing that you'd say to them?
That your best longevity drug is exercise. Beyond any pharmacopoeia of medications, beyond nutrition, beyond sleep even. Those things are very important, but really exercise is in a class all of its own. And if you calibrate that right and you get your week right with exercise, with your proper training, have your why in place, then you are going to have success.
That is awesome. You know what? Like and share this episode. You know what? Smash that like button. We'll see you guys. Thank you very much for being on Shed Talk.
My pleasure, Kevin.
And that was awesome. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Now you know. Shed Talk.